Here's what happened. It is a presidential election year. That can bring up a lot of feelings, a lot of different feelings that can create some overwhelm, crankiness. For me, I saw some info in the news today as I'm recording it today that for me brought up this feeling of shit. Is this where we're going into the future as a society and as a community? For me, I want to change the narrative of that feeling that was coming up. And the word that kept hitting through of needing to discuss this on this podcast is honesty, specifically ruthless honesty. So I want to share with you why ruthless honesty prevents burnout and dive into my journey of navigating this word honesty in my personal life, of how I'm dealing with myself, how I'm dealing with other, keeping it real for you, sharing the ups and downs along the way in the journey, and the struggles that still can happen to this day for me. Because it's always, as I've said, it's not a one fix and then it's done. It's something that we're constantly working on for ourselves. And everyone is having to deal with this. So you're not alone if this is a challenge for you with honesty. Let's get into it. This is Make Burnout Extinct Podcast. I'm Robert David Weeks. First, I want to define some key terms, one of them being ruthless. I will then share with you how this connects to burnout, those 3 red flags that we've talked about: chronic exhaustion, negativity in your work and your personal life and the world is the second one. And then the third red flag is terrible performance at your work. So I'll get into that connection point. I then want to share with you a TEDx talk by Sean Stevenson, someone that in this talk specifically resonates with ruthless, that word. From there, I will share my own, and he has some really great points that could be helpful for us when we're talking about honesty. Then I'll share 2 plays that you can try out for yourself in the next few days, and especially this weekend, if you're listening to it when this comes out, that you can try out and can help you with connecting to ruthless honesty, because there can be a lot of fear around this initially when you're trying to be super honest with yourself. And I want you to realize that you are not alone in that, and we can get through it, and we can move through it one small action each moment that can build upon itself and create that momentum. Let's get into the definitions. All right, ruthless. Let's dive in. This word, the word, it's, can sound vicious. It has this negativity around it. Yet I want to change that narrative for this word and show that there can be a positivity and a strength with this word that is also not toxic, but a strong, solid spiritual strength. Ruthless, from Merriam-Webster, the definition is having no pity. That's something I want you to remember, is having no pity. And to get into pity, so you can understand that, pity for me, this sounds negative. And how it's defined is sympathetic sorrow for one suffering, distressed, or unhappy. That for me has negative undertones. And to have no pity is then to not, to look at, like how I look at that for ruthless honesty, to address that specifically, I look at that as seeing it for what it is, not making it more distressed, more amplified. It's just, and feeling sorry for ourselves. It's just looking at what the challenge is that we're facing with ruthless honesty. This is what it is. This is how I can address it. And I'll get into my story of how I connect to that word. The other definition, though, I want to highlight for you is chronic. I realized, as I'm going through these episodes, I haven't defined chronic for you. And we got to understand what that is. It is, for the definition, persisting for a long time or constantly reoccurring. And it all ties together, because when we're not ruthless in our honesty, I want to share with you what can happen. What can happen is we can then make excuses for how we are acting and for the decisions that we're making. We can rationalize it of putting external reasons why things aren't working out for us. We can get from there into victimhood and decide all of our problems, we got to blame other people and blame external circumstances, our conditions. This is why we are a certain way. what I want to do is share with you another lens that you can look at that. Because what happens is when we start to put the blame externally, outwardly, things out of our control potentially, that then results in us bubbling up with the stress and anxiety and overwhelm of the realization that is absolutely an illusion in many situations that we have no control and no ability to make a change to help benefit our life, benefit our quality of life, and to move through this challenge that we're facing in the moment. It makes us feel stuck. And when we create that stuck energy, there's no way for that to move throughout the body. There's no way to release that out. And what happens is that stress becomes chronic. And when the chronic stress happens, the body's natural response is to attack it and deal with it and deal with that problem. But if the problem never goes away, that's where then the body response occurs of creating chronic inflammation, which causes us to move super fast over time. We're moving much faster over time to chronic exhaustion, which is the first red flag. And another effect of that feeling of stuck and feeling like we have no ability to take control in our actions to move through the challenge and face our challenge is we create negativity then in our work, especially if we feel like we have no control in what we're doing in our work to make it better. So we're just stuck. It can affect our personal lives and our relationships. If we feel nothing that we can, in any way we can communicate, will make an impact or make a difference with our partner or with ourselves, for what we say to ourselves of how we can make this relationship better. So therefore, you have that negativity. And that then becomes chronic. And we're hitting that second red flag. And before you know it, you're going to hit the third with terrible performance. So that's what happens when we're not ruthless in our honesty. We put it out of our control. For me, I believe ruthless honesty, and I remember saying it for the first time to myself, and I realized this word has impact. It cuts through all the noise and all the shit. And I think of, for the story that comes up for me was 2018, the burnout. Leading up to that, such a big contrast. I was lying a ton. I was feeling that stuckness. It was bubbling up inside as I was leading up to the social media conference, signing contracts I didn't know I was signing, the debts we're collecting. I was having this fear and doubt about the event and just feeling mentally and physically exhausted, having no idea what the fuck I'm doing. It's like first timer figuring this out. But I feel I can't communicate that with the people that would actually be able to help me, my teammates at work, the people on my team that are supporting this vision that I put out into the world, the 20 plus volunteers that are there ready to support. When we get asked for help, and it's coming from a genuine place of really we need help, and to help someone, that feels amazing. To help someone in need, to support them. It's a feel-good vibe. You realize you feel confident in that support. You feel like you have value to provide to society, and you feel like you can contribute. But what I did is I didn't even give other people the opportunity for that. I cut it off, and it created the stuck feeling, which was building then the chronic stress within me and causing my body to have that response that it had. And I'm moving so fast towards chronic exhaustion, where by the end of this event, I hit it. I could not move. My physical body, mental body was done, exhausted. I hit that burnout. I had negativity with my work. I had the debt that I had collected. So for me, I was lying so much. And then what helped to release that burden of a feeling, that stuck energy that had caused the burnout, was by being ruthlessly honest with myself, realizing, okay, I got into this situation because I lied and I made mistakes. I was new. I was a first timer for this event. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I was trying to figure it out along the way and constantly learning and trying to get information and trying to apply it. But it's gotten me into this place So how can I get out of this place? And when I could address it for what it was, I one felt the mental burden release, the physical burden release from my body. I could own it. I could see it clearly for what it was and decide how I was going to move forward. And that's where then I became ruthlessly honest with then others, starting with my parents. As I said I've talked about this story before of telling them I'm not okay. After that burnout, I had to recover and ended up having to move back in with my parents because I couldn't financially support myself at the time. And mentally, I was in a shitty place. And physically, I was exhausted. So it was in that moment where I had to tell them that I'm not okay. And what that did was just the action of doing that allowed me to release a lot of energy. And I could feel that stuckness just like release. Felt like a cork, a champagne bottle. You open up the cork, you pop the cork, it just flows out. That's what it felt like. And what then happened is it created momentum for me to keep being honest with starting with friends, then my life partner. And when I can do that, I feel light. I feel like I'm able to just float and feel like that fast car moving down that highway towards the life that I want and that I'm creating and I'm building in that moment. And that becomes a beautiful gift that we can give to ourselves. And I'm not feeling then the massive mental and physical stuckness of stress and anxiety because I'm able to constantly move through it because we're going to face the stresses of life. Those come up naturally throughout the journey. You're going to be facing the challenges, but they're not going to just be always consistently 365, 24/7 there for you. If you face them, you move through them, you address them, and then you have a recovery period for yourself. And then you face the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. That's one of the gifts that ruthless honesty can give you. Now, I want to tie it into this TEDx talk. And I'm actually going to share with you right now, even before this, the first play. What happens, what can happen, and you may be feeling this, is you may be struggling trying to connect to your emotions and your feelings. I struggle with that. After I said I'm not okay, it was like such a powerful body sensation release that I realized I had been numbing myself and suppressing my feelings, suppressing the emotions that were bubbling up, that I realized I had to figure out how to start to connect. And what I noticed was I was numbing a lot of my body. So a way that can help you if you are feeling similarly is actually to start to create tension in your body consciously. And a way you can do that, I have my hands like in fists, is just squeezing your hands in this fist to feel that and then release. Squeeze, release. And you can do that for a few times. Maybe like you could do that for 5 times. Squeeze, release, squeeze, release. What this does for you is it starts to create a connection of being able to know what it feels like to hold the tension and then to release the tension. Because what's happened is other parts of your body, you may not even realize it, have been constantly tense. And they're wanting to release perhaps, but they just don't, it's been so habituated in being in tense mode that you don't know what it feels like for it to relax. So by starting with your hands and your fists, that can create that connection, for the neuromuscular connection. And then you can start to expand it and try to contract other parts of your body. But let's start with the fist first. Do that for a few times, and then you can move down the arm with your forearms, your biceps, and just continue to move down throughout your body. And then you can do like full body, squeezing the tension and then releasing. And you'll start to notice the difference. You'll feel a little bit, you'll feel more at ease, more relaxed. It does make a difference, and I've noticed that for myself. This is the one that I've done for a longer period of time than the other play that I'm going to share. This has been something for a body scan. It's one of my daily activities to focus in on my body, find my tension points and relax them. It's been a process of navigating that and like creating new versions of what that looks like. So a way to start it off, start small, is start with the fists. So that's play number one. Now let's tie this back to the TEDx talk. And this TEDx talk, this was by Sean Stevenson, who he's passed away. He passed away in 2019. It's the title of the TEDx talk. You can look it up. It's about 10 minutes and around 30 seconds, a little less. I recommend it. It's inspired me when it comes to relentless honesty. And the title is The Prison of Your Mind. Sean Stevenson, TEDx, Ironwood State Prison. This was a talk he did in front of prisoners. And what he mentioned, what he asked for the question was this. I got it for the quote. You know what the worst drug that ever hit the human race is? Pity. That's what he said. And this is a guy, for background, if you don't know who Sean Stevenson, his resume, he's an American therapist. He was a self-help author and motivational speaker. He was born with a condition that caused him to be 3 feet tall. He had fragile bones, and so he had so many surgeries he had to go through. He used a wheelchair. And when he was born, it was said, the doctor said he wouldn't survive for 24 hours. And what's so funny is he has this like amazing way of putting it. He was like, all those doctors that said that, they're dead. And I'm the only doctor that remains. And at the time when he did the TEDx talk, he was 35 years old. He died at age 40. And for what I resonated from him was that he didn't pity himself. He got out of that victimhood and realized that we can be in the prison of our minds a lot of times. And I connect with that, with the somatics and wanting to connect with the rest of your body and those places where throughout the body you feel numb, and reconnecting with those. Also, what I resonate with is to not pity ourselves, to not feel like we are having to be insecure about who we are and afraid to share truly what's on our heart, and being able to look ourselves in the mirror and realize that we are truly being honest with ourselves. Even if it's struggle, it hurts, it's overwhelming, we're still able to be honest. And then from that, we can have this feeling of ease, way more ease and excitement for life and fun for life, because we're moving through those challenges rather than getting stuck by those challenges. And one other lesson that he shares is that never believe a prediction that doesn't empower you. And I resonate with that. There have been so many predictions that have come through my thoughts, one of which was being a shy kid. And I remember, like, I was so shy growing up as a kid that when it came to asking a question in front of a group of people, I was so scared to share my opinion, share and ask my question, thinking it was a stupid question, like, especially, in middle school, like all the kids are super nice, right? I was worried about being made fun of. So I'd literally go through physical body shakes of being willing, of asking those questions. So for me, a prediction that could have been was like, there's no way I could be a public speaker. No way I could host a podcast. None of that. And if I had believed those predictions, then I wouldn't be doing it. So I really appreciate how he puts that. Never believe prediction that doesn't empower you. And to realize that pity is not something that we need to take on for ourselves, nor put that on others. Rather, we can build people up and support each other and be honest in how we can receive support and how we can support others and ask where people need support, and to remember that we're on the same team here. So I recommend going back to that TEDx talk, he has so many other points that come through about this. And I resonate with that message of taking responsibility for our life, for what we want, and moving through the challenges. Because again, I've talked about it before, what happens is we build up our confidence. Being able to do something that we feel like we struggle with and getting through it feels fucking awesome. It feels like you are that, again, the high-speed car just moving through life, and people got to get out of the way because you're going for it for life. And also what this does is it helps us, when it comes to honesty, it helps us to create deeper connection. I think back to, I did an episode about why having no real friends fuels burnout. I believe that's the title of it. And I remember focusing in on this study that was done, or the survey that was done it was a survey that was done for the number of close friendships that Americans have. And it was in 1990. So they had done it in 1990 and then 2021. And for the percentage of Americans that said they had no close friends, there was a 300% increase in those years to where we are today. It connects absolutely to then the loneliness that we can feel. And when we try to put on the mask and try to be perfect for everyone and not share our problems and our challenges, because I know we are worried that people will not like us and people then will stop loving us and feel like we're not enough. And there's a chance that could happen. But then there's an even greater chance that people are going to feel deeper connected with you by you sharing it. And there's ways in which to share it with compassion and empathy. Then that's for another episode. But it's just having first the baseline of your own self, having the relentless honesty with yourself of where you are for your challenges and your problems and the difficulties that you're facing, and being able to focus in on how can we then move through these challenges. And that connects to the second play, the one that I'll share with you, which is first principles. Remembering first principles. The phrase came through when I heard this from Alex Hormozy. What I have come to learn for first principles is you break it down to its simplest form. So going back to the exercise story I shared of 2021, I could break it down of, okay, I'm not exercising. Well, how do I exercise? I don't need a gym. I don't need, special equipment, weights, any of that. That could all be nice. But what do I have to do? I have to move. Create aerobic, focus on aerobic exercises to get started. Movement. Well, what can I do? I can get up, put on shoes, and walk outside. That's what I can do. I can raise my hands up and down, move them around, maybe focus on Qigong. That I can do. Maybe dance for a few minutes. That I can do. I can just move my body, whatever it is. From there, what that then does is it stacks up a new habit that's going to form. Because I can do it for a few minutes, then I do it for a little bit longer. Then I have a baseline of 15 minutes I'm going to do exercise for, and then I can play with variety in those 15 minutes and try different things. But it all comes back to the first principles of I don't need all the external equipment. I don't need gym memberships. I don't need a personal trainer. I don't need to do an hour class. I don't. Would it be nice? Yeah. But I don't need that to get started. But when I can actually get out of that stuck feeling and realize that and take responsibility for that by remembering first principles, that then causes me to face a challenge directly, head on, realize I'm capable. We've talked about this before for your potential. You have immense potential within you to be able to handle this and to move through it. And from there, with the action I take, I build momentum towards the new habit that's going to be formed. And I stick with it. There's going to be off days where it doesn't work out one day. I go back to James Clear, where he says, if you skip one day, don't skip 2 days. And so if I miss a day, I'm going to do my best to come back. I've had it happen where I've gone, a few days, like 3 days, but I come back. And what you want to keep trying to do is shrink that window of the amount of days that you're skipping things that are going to help you to move you towards what you want and to help build a better quality of life in the moment. It can be hard, but the harder thing is to have regrets looking back. And that's something that Sean Stevenson talks about, the regrets of looking back. This is your moment to realize that you are capable. Don't let the regrets build. And I want you to know that you're not alone in this journey. You're absolutely capable in doing this. I have been there with you in this journey of going from, especially if you resonate with the lying, having lied a lot, realize that you can make a change and make a shift. It comes back to realizing that you have control in this and that you are capable and that you have the potential. So my ask for you is, when are you going to try out these plays? And how are you going to try out these plays? I'm giving you a few different examples to try out, but this is where critical thinking is really important. Take the moment right here. Don't just let this be some entertainment that you're listening to and like, oh, this was nice to hear some stories. And, that was cool with TEDx. Maybe I'll check out that TEDx. Like, I get it. It's learning is a lot easier than actually doing the thing. And I want you to realize that this is your moment and your space to reflect on that. And start small. Start so small. Go back to first principles. Start so small for how you can try this out. And then I celebrate you for just the effort of deciding and then committing to doing it. And that's something that you can do, is remembering to celebrate these moments, not the outcome, but the effort. If you like this episode, please don't forget to rate this podcast to help get the message out of Make Burnout Extinct. And you can share what resonates with you from this episode by connecting with me on Instagram and LinkedIn. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. I don't take that for granted, ever. Excited to reconnect with you again soon.